Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Investing Bros. It is Monday morning. What is today even? Today is the 8th. Wow. Man, May is already coming and going very, very soon. We're going to have the Bitcoin conference. But speaking of that Bitcoin conference, a lot of us expect kind of rally up into it. However, it looks like we could be dipping right now, and that is the whole point of this video. And the title you will see, Bitcoin is in trouble. We're going to be taking a look at what is happening right there with Binance. Of course, some of you guys might have seen yesterday news broke that there was a lot of congestion happening that forced Binance to stop allowing you to actually be able to take profit on any Bitcoin or move any of your Bitcoin. The question is, though, do we have the solution right now? Is that the Lightning Network, or is there something else that's going to be able to solve this problem on Bitcoin? Make sure you do not go anywhere, because we got a great show lined up for you guys today. We are the Investing Bros that go live every single weekday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you need to go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. With that said, though, I'm joined by two amazing co-hosts this morning, starting off with the Florida man, Mr. T. Shroom. How you doing, T. Shroom?
Doing better than I deserved, Tim. And I can't complain. I had a really great weekend. Got to spend some time with family. Went up to the Florida capital, Tallahassee, to celebrate the birthday of a young person, which is always a lot of fun. Lots of balloons, maybe a little bit of crying, but plenty of cake. And nobody appreciated cake more than John F. Kennedy. So we're going to go ahead and hear a quote from him this morning. Liberty. Oh. And it looks as though we have the wrong screen shared. So give me
an interesting quote.
Give me just a second here, folks. Wow. I had a little bit too much fun at that birthday party, I think. Liberty without learning is always in peril. Learning without liberty is always in vain. John F. Kennedy, fan of cake. May he rest in peace.
Yeah. Interesting choice of words there, T. Shroom, to say that John F. Kennedy is the biggest fan of cake. We're not going to go too deep into that, but thank you for those wise words. Once again, T. Shroom. We're also joined by Army Piper, or we can also call him the Texas Man. How you doing this morning, Piper?
I'll take Texas Man. I like that name. It works for me. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. It's Monday. I'm ready to get hot and popping. Ready to see what goes on with the markets this week. We've got big data coming in, which we'll talk about here in a bit. And I can't ask for better. That's how I am today, Tim.
This is a good morning. We get you guys get to hear that JFK is officially the biggest fan of cake. Piper is hot and popping. It is a good Monday morning. And speaking of good Monday mornings and hot and popping, we got to go over to our hot and popping. All of our fans. I don't know what I was calling it. The comment screen. I don't know what we call this.
Chat.
YouTube comments. We're gonna read some of the people here this morning, because
that is called bro banter. That is what our chat is called. Bro
banter.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's see who's hot and popping over in the comments section this morning. We had our first comment brought to this morning by a mellow fellow. So his bot is once again working. He is back on the leaderboard, and right behind him was good old Mr. J. So congratulations to those two on being in here early. But we also have Crypto Trades here this morning. Eric Wallen is here. The beautiful Taylor Warren is here with the blue wrench. Man, we're like, what, 20 days. So 3 weeks until the due date, give or take, because her due date is the 28th of May. So that baby is coming, and it's coming very soon. Taylor, rest up. Who else do we have here? We got Mike Play is here. Joe Nickel is here. Crypto Pew Pew Cruz. Justin Eubanks. Who else do we got? Gia S is here. Eric Wallen is here. Elo Brown is here this morning. Investing Bros is in the comment section. There we go. Steve Ramos is here. Mike Lowry, 88 Ace, Curtis Rorick, CBD Suddy, John Kahn, Mike Lowry. I think I read that one already, but we're going to read it again for double measure. Crux of Crypto with the blue wrenches here. Tyler Main, Nancy Croy. I don't know if I've read the name Nancy Croy, so welcome, Nancy. I don't know how long you've been watching, but welcome to having your name read on screen. Grand Roofing Incorporated is here. Max PP is here. Ninja Glock is here. Oh, this is a fun one. I haven't seen it in a minute, but Adria Adonvich or Vic. I don't know if it's, I think Vich, Adria Adon Vich. We're going to go with it. Josh Denham is here. OBYC or OBC. Ooh, I just skipped past some people. Let's see here. A couple more, and then we'll get into it. Crypto AI. Kid Mental, again, the creator of our outro song. Shout out to him. A couple more here. Crimson Caravan Company. Bob is here. John Foster Crypto. And Red Robles. I think that I just read everybody's name, which is always a great thing. If for some reason, though, I did not read your name like Oman13, does not mean I don't love you. It just means it's time to get on with our fantastic show. A mellow fellow said, pause, Tim. I don't know which part he was saying pause to, but there's been a couple pauses this morning, to be honest with you. And we're just going to go ahead and steamroll them all the way through. We're going to start off our amazing morning with our macroeconomic outlook, brought to you by the Army Piper, or the Texas man himself. Piper, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim. So today, guys, nothing. Quiet day. We got some stuff going on over here for Great Britain, but that's about it. We are looking at tomorrow for being when we do start to have stuff come in, and it's going to be a speech from Fed Jefferson, a Fed Williams speech, and then we got some crude oil stock changes coming in. The big thing, though, so pretty much nothing for nothing for Monday, nothing for Tuesday. Wednesday, though. Wednesday, we're looking at the inflation rate coming in, and we're going to get CPI data coming in. And right now, it's looking like it's going to be either neutral or a little bit below on the core inflation rate, which is a good thing. It looks like the inflation rate month over month could be a little bit higher than what we previously have seen. But the CPI and that core inflation rate, this is what I'm going to be watching right here, is this core inflation for the month over month and the core inflation year over year. I want to see how that comes in. That's going to be the big news that we have this week for U.S. macroeconomics. Nothing really. We got an interest rate decision here for Great Britain, but that's about it. So we will see how this stuff comes in. So yeah, nothing really until Wednesday for fireworks. Just sitting quiet in the foxhole for Monday and Tuesday. So, and go ahead and jump over here to the Trueflation. We've got 3.88% coming in on Trueflation today. So it's actually down 1/100th%. Big whopping 1/100th% there, Tim. So.
Awesome. Well, even though I've kind of told you guys, I think that we're getting to a point where the FOMC meetings are not as important as they used to be. Let's take a look at what we're already expecting for the month of June. Currently, we're still going to be waiting about 37 days, so over a month still. But we got a little momentum picking up for another 25 basis point rate hike. Doesn't mean it's a lot. We're only sitting at 10.9%, still seeing 89.1% saying that we are going to have our first pause in well over a year. But keep your eyes on this. Again, 1 month away, a lot can change. There's not a lot necessarily in the news that would make me think that Jerome Powell is going to do that, unless you're going to factor in what he's thinking is because they're going to be printing more money that they need to keep raising rates. But I think that at this point, unless something massive changes in the news, we should all be expecting our first pause coming very, very soon. We'll have to wait and see. I wonder what they're projecting for the end of the year at this point. They're still 45.9% projecting that we're going to see 425 to 450 by the end of the year. So that means multiple rate cuts should be happening later on in the year. But like the weather, things change very quickly when it comes to FOMC meeting projections. So you're going to have to continue to tune in daily for that. Taking a look at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. I'm assuming that seeing that we're sitting at 60 right now with a 64 the day previous, this price has not been updated. The dip must have happened after last night, because I guarantee you guys, unless we see some sort of massive rally happen today, we're going to see this number be a lot lower because we dropped. Let's go over to our chart real quick, and let's take a look at the hourly chart. We can go over here and see that number would have printed last night, I believe, somewhere in this region. So we've dropped over $1,000 since our last Fear and Greed Index print, which means more than likely we should see that number on 60 probably drop to lower 50s. If history is going to repeat itself every time we get a significant dip in the price, we see that number go kind of crazy. But now we're over on the charts. Let's get into our TA this morning. So some things I want to address with you guys. We've been talking about last week after multiple respecting touches of our ascending triangle support line. We went ahead and broke on through it here last night. So this is not a bullish sign right here. This is something that you're going to have to go ahead and put in the camp of the bears. While we did have that flat top and we recently had a push up almost back up to 30,000 here just a couple of days ago, the bears were able not only to suppress us back down to support line, which was not surprising to me. I was not surprised. I actually predicted we were going to come back down here one more time. I am surprised, though, and I will admit that I did not think we were going to break that support level. We're sitting right back on multiple other support levels, but starting off with this yellow box. Let's go out to the 4-hour chart to see this. You guys can see this yellow box is something we've been talking about for a long time. I went ahead and extended all the way over here because it looks like at this point, especially as we're starting to see when we pull up our oscillators, a lot of support coming back into these regions. This looks like a sideways trading channel that we're starting to slowly build here on Bitcoin, which for the moment will remain. I'm gonna go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt to the bulls still, that this is still bullish. I still believe that we can have a nice rally up into the Bitcoin conference. However, we're starting to get to territories where, yes, we're flashing oversold, but if we still move to the downside and we end up breaking below 27,000, I think you're going to have to give a lot of credit to the bears. I think they're going to pick up some momentum. And of course, we're going to have 25,200 sitting below us, but the question is, will that be enough to stop us? Right now, what we need the price to stay in is the region above 27,000. And then again, if it comes up and hits its head on 30,000 again, we're kind of sitting here sideways. I would not expect that to happen, though. If we do see a bounce, if we do see Bitcoin find support and move to the upside, I'm going to go ahead and predict right now that that's probably going to be the push that breaks us through and to the upside. However, I do want to kind of point out to everybody, because you guys have been following us for a while now. You guys know what we've been talking about when it comes to price predictions for Bitcoin and expectations of repeating and following things that happened back in 2019. I want to start off by saying it's absolutely still possible. I still could see a route. Man, these PC mouse pads, I do not like them whatsoever. I forgot to turn off my marker. I still see a route technically that we could get up to about 48,000, 50,000 with this golden pocket here. You guys know I've been talking about this for a while, going back to the all-time high down to what is right now the bottom of the bear market. This would give us a golden pocket up here at 49,000, 50,000, repeating history of 2019 when we rallied up to a golden pocket. But the longer we start to move sideways here, and again, we're 10 days away from the beginning of the Bitcoin conference. I told you guys before, I kind of had this double kind of take profit thought of not only looking for some of these levels between 42,000 and 50,000 to take profit, but I'm also looking probably to take profit on maybe the day before or day of the first day of the Bitcoin conference. I'm going to have to continue to monitor that, but I'm starting to get a little bit in the camp of saying maybe 50,000 is a little rich. I still believe 36,000 is a very realistic possibility, very easy to get to over the next 10 days. And I think there's still a good outside chance that 40,000 or 42,000 gets hit up here at the 0.5 level. However, the longer we're moving in this sideways action, the harder it's going to be for Bitcoin bulls to make that massive rally all the way back up to 50,000. Impossible? No. But likely every single day, it seems less likely. But who knows? Maybe there could be this massive amount of infusion of liquidity. That's one of the things that we actually talked about. When I say we, I'm talking about the Hidden Network. On the BitBoy show on Friday, we actually covered a story that right now it just would not take that much money to make Bitcoin climb. The problem is it also just didn't take that much money to make it dip either. So right now we're kind of sitting in a section where it's saying, hey, are the bulls going to win? Are the bears going to win? I do want to give you guys a little bit of hope for the bulls, though. There was down on the hourly chart. If we were to pull up our smart money concept bundles, we have what are these called? These are order blocks. I don't know why I'm blanking on what those are called, but we do have an order block here on the hourly chart. Down here at the prices we're going to, technically the bottom of it is about 27,500. The reason this could be a very bullish sign, everybody, is, of course, in case you don't know what order blocks are, these are things that you see on exchanges where people have gone ahead and put in that they wanted to buy down here. So like when you're looking on the hourly chart, people have also probably put in, we have order blocks up here at 31,000 all the way up to almost 32,000. People have already put in order blocks to take profit right there. We have order blocks all the way down, technically down to 19,000. And then the further you out, if we were to go out to the daily chart, for example, you're going to see a lot of these. We have an order block below us sitting here at 25,000, all the way down to about 800. 25,800. We have some down here towards 18,000. But of course, we also have some above us Do we have any long-standing ones in daily chart? We don't have any long-standing order blocks well above us other than this one right here, topping out around 32,000. About 32,000 or so. But this is a good bullish case short term that despite the fact that we did have an $1,000 drop over the last couple of hours, we are sitting in a spot with order blocks, meaning a lot of people were sitting there ready to gobble up this Bitcoin price where it is at. Of course, it's paired with, when we pull up our oscillators, both hourly chart, 4-hour chart, even the 6-hour chart, we're seeing flashes of being oversold at the moment. Of course, hour chart right there, boom. 4-hour chart, we just got a box that came in with, even though this didn't hit it perfectly, the fact that we have a peak seeker popping up right here meant that was another thing that would have confirmed. I think a lot of people would have gotten confused and thought that Bitcoin was going to rally. Instead, it ended up falling. But don't ignore the fact that at the moment, moving in a sideways price action, we got a lot of oversold flashes. Like I said, even out to the 6-hour chart, we're going to see that oversold box start to flash. When you start to move the longer time frames, though, this is where you start to have a couple of problems. Here on the 12-hour chart, again, order block right below us, order blocks above us. So a lot of decision-making can still be happening. The other thing I'm going to say here on the 12-hour chart, as we're just kind of moving on through here, you guys can see the dynamic reactor is sitting right there as well. So multiple levels of support right now. A lot of reason for optimism that Bitcoin can be about to bounce here shortly. However, again, as a good technical analyst, as a good trader, you kind of have your plan. The plan right now is still that it's moving to the upside. The plan right now is that we're sitting on a lot of support, but you want to keep your eyes on the charts and have your disaster plan prepared for. If Bitcoin were to start to move to the downside, what is your plan? What are your levels? At what point are you entering a short? At what point are you exiting out of your trade? Make sure you're deciding right now. Choose your price points. Choose your indicators that you want to see. Last thing I'll pull up here, and then I want to throw it over to Piper so he can take a look at Ethereum, looking at this fixed range volume profile, if this computer will click with me. I'm telling you guys right now, again, love being up here, but I'm not a fan of this PC I'm using for this show. Hopefully I get a more permanent solution here later. We're sitting right now where we're hovering below the point of control. But again, 27,000, it says 27,180 or so. That's going to be our value area low. Our value area high technically is up here towards 29,180. So again, overextended right now. I think that you can make two arguments. One, we're to the downside, so the bear's doing a good push. But as we're getting closer to this value area low, to this 12-hour dynamic reactor, we're also sitting on support. Could be an interesting entry point for a shorter term, maybe a scalp trade. Keep your eyes fixed on that. But that is the Bitcoin TA I have for you guys today. Last thing I'll say, actually, before I move on, it is interesting to watch. We'll talk probably more about this in the news section. But you would think that with all this dip that we had last night, that the Dixie would be climbing this morning. But no, the Dixie is down as well, getting very, very close to key levels of support. Let me see, though, the 4-hour chart. Let's see if it's going to have oversold flash. It's not necessarily getting the same oversold flashes we were seeing on Bitcoin, but then again, neither is Ethereum nor Cardano either. So Bitcoin's the only coin I was looking at this morning that I saw a lot of support levels flashing. Dixie's down this morning too. Could be interesting to watch what the Dixie does over the next couple of hours as well. With that said, though, Piper, let's go ahead and jump in and do some Ethereum TA. And while you're doing that, I might take a look at a couple other charts to see if we can do some other TA.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right. So taking a look at Ethereum, guys, where do you think we are back at again? Once again, as I've said numerous weeks in a row now, check it out. We're back in the platinum pocket. This weekend, we did have a nice little pump up here. On Friday before dropping down. Once we dropped down, we did come up, retested that 887 right there at 1922, getting a rejection, and now we're back just sideways here in our beautiful platinum pocket that we've been in for a while. I do want to throw a couple of other things on here and show you what I'm looking at. We did have this head and shoulders pattern, guys, I had printed, and it closed out last week, okay? So this was invalidated, but this is good because had we not invalidated this and found the support right here down here, we would have been looking at a target based off of going from the top of the head here down to the bottom of the neckline here. We would have been looking at a 1550, so $1,550 Ethereum. We didn't hit that. That's a good thing. Let's go ahead though and take a look at where we actually bounced off of that at last week. And I'm going to throw this up here. Let's throw on the market oracle and we'll show you a couple things here. So you can see here that this head and shoulders actually was the wick down for where we would have tested and broke. We got invalidated because we found support on this long running trend line here, running right along our dynamic reactor. So we got really good support running right here currently right now. So I'm not too concerned. I'm kind of wanting to see what's going to happen here as this trend line and this dynamic reactor comes into the platinum pocket over the next couple of days here. I'm looking at a 12-hour chart right now. So I'll be watching right here at this about 1830, 1825 range to see what kind of price action we're going to get there on that dynamic reactor. Will it be another catalyst like it was here and back here to send us up and push us out of this platinum pocket? We will see, but this week will definitely be running us into support, pushing in and wedging us out of this platinum pocket possibly, or potentially breaking it on a retest to come down. So one other thing that I want to pull up here, I had this channel that I've been watching for a while. It goes all the way back here to about 13th of March here. We did have the breakup here once we retested, broke it, came back in on the retest, pulled right back into the channel here, and now we are back here in the channel this weekend. Our rejection point was the top of that channel also. And then the last thing that I want to show you here is on the 4-hour. If we take a look here, you can see, I'll spread this out a little bit, on the 4-hour chart here, we had the possible reversal down that printed. Also in our candlestick patterns, we had that very powerful evening star that I like to tell you guys about, and that printed before sending us down to where ultimately about 7% over the weekend now. So not really overly concerned with what's going to be happening here. I just want to see how the trend lines hold up in comparison to the dynamic reactor that we have going on, and in relation to this channel, all right here coming in at the 786 about 1825. So if we take a look at the oscillators here in the MACD, you can see that we are starting to get a little curvature here on the ribbon again. So it does look like this might create that little pinch twist that we get in the ribbon, giving us about somewhere around here, around the range of the bullish zone line on the oscillator. And the histogram is starting to heat back up on the MACD. So that is what I've got going on here with the ETH. I'm just watching these levels very closely. Again, 1825 range is where I'm looking for us to find support. And if we don't find that support there, we end up breaking that, then be looking out for 1700 on Ethereum. So
very, very interesting. Well, let's do. I'm gonna do some Cardano TA for you guys this morning, but make sure we got over 100 people watching right now. Go ahead and smash that like button. We only have 51 likes, so about a 50% ratio. Definitely a lot of people in here that have not smashed that like button yet. Let's go over to Cardano screen here, Piper. And what I'm seeing here this morning, a lot of chaos going on. So let me move this for just a second. Here on the daily chart, you're actually seeing we just broke below where we had an order block here on the daily chart, but the hour chart, it's going to look confusing because I have this yellow box drawn, but we're sitting here right now finding support at the bottom of that order block for Cardano, as well as this hourly chart. We are seeing the flashes of oversold. So Cardano's kind of sitting on some nice support, similar to Bitcoin. The thing that I am going to be taking an eye on, though, and I deleted it, but I'm going to pull it back up here in a second, is our Fibonacci levels. Again, come on, click for me here, computer. Sometimes buttons don't like to click. That's just how that works. This daily chart dynamic reactor is sitting right at the golden pocket. The price of this for Cardano would be about 36 cents. And Cardano's been bleeding a little bit. Again, it's one of the coins that we talked about last week. It kind of is getting this descending level of resistance. We kind of had almost this descending triangle kind of formation going for Cardano. Again, not that I think it's going to play out fully and break down to potentially where it really could, all the way back down to these levels at 29 cents. It's definitely possible. I think that when you come to Cardano, though, you got to take TA. You got to know which TA things to look at with consistency. Formations, for example, do not usually hit with Cardano. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've seen so many times where we get a certain type of triangle or a certain type of wedge, or we get a head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders, and we make these predictions about where Cardano's price is going. It ends up not following it. A lot of times what you're more looking at with Cardano is flat levels of support and resistance. We're looking for momentum to come in when the community just gets really, really hyper and really, really engaged. So what I'm looking at right here, even though we're currently sitting on some shorter timeline support, This longer timeline, this daily chart level right here, again, dynamic reactor for the daily chart, golden pocket here. If you were to go back to the dip we had back in March, that would put us around 36 cents, almost pretty much even right there for a good, strong level of support for Cardano. Once again, though, if Bitcoin bears start to take over, if we start to see Bitcoin dip, it's one of these things like I've been thinking about it, the best way to put this analogy, and maybe I've used this before, maybe I haven't, but imagine almost like have you guys ever gone to like Disney World or SeaWorld or something, and you see that one family that the parents are taking the kid on the leash, and the whole reason why that kid is on a leash is because that kid's pretty much a dog and cannot be controlled, but that leash allows the parent to have at least a little bit of control. There's times where that kid's lagging behind. There's times where that kid's running on ahead. Ultimately, mama or dada, whoever is sitting there holding the leash, they have full control. Well, the best way to think about it, especially with these larger cap altcoins, is Bitcoin's mommy or daddy. Bitcoin has control of the leash. These other cryptos, they can sometimes climb out a little bit ahead. They can sometimes fall a little bit behind, but ultimately they're going to respond in the same rough type of trajectory that Bitcoin is responding in. So if Bitcoin's going to move to the upside, altcoins go up. If Bitcoin's move to the downside, it's going to move to the downside. A bull market's where you start to see potentially a lot more space, and altcoins seem to get a lot more control. But for right now, the reason we're so emphatic about doing the Bitcoin TA daily is because it gives you an overall view of what the market wants to do in general. And so same thing here, as we're kind of sitting in a spot where we see Bitcoin. I'll go over to the Bitcoin chart. Well, we're seeing Bitcoin get close to and starting to show signs of potentially having support. That's a good sign for the crypto space as a whole. But if the bears end up leading and the bears end up pushing Bitcoin to the downside, watch as things like Ethereum and Cardano and Litecoin and Atom and Matic and all these other things, they continue to move to the downside. But like I said, 4-hour chart here on Cardano, got a nice green candle coming in here. We had a nice long wick on the candle right before. So a lot of signs right here that we are bullish. I'm reading the chat as I'm doing this. CryptoSec guy says Tim needs a leash. Makes sense. Yeah, no, that's ultimately what happens. When I take Beamer on a walk, he's really walking me, is what happens there. He knows the plan. Let's take a look at a couple other coins here, though, this morning, because we got a couple minutes until the market opens. But XRP, let's take a look this morning at what is going on here. I'm down here on the 4-hour chart. We're getting a massive flash for oversold here in XRP, but that's a good thing. However, it took a little bit of a bath here. If we're going out to longer time frame, TA, we were in a falling wedge here for a while. That hard resistance, we talked about this before. Some of you guys might remember we talked about a 70-cent XRP. I think it's going to happen eventually, guys, but we ended up respecting that resistance level here at about 56 cents very, very well. That's our rejection point. Almost broke up to it a couple days ago, but then, of course, came back down. Right now, we're sitting on top. If I were to zoom in here, we're on top of that daily dynamic reactor. That is a positive sign. Let's take a look at some other things here, though, using our smart money concept bundles. We have order blocks down here, but that's not even what I want to look at. Let's turn off the order blocks and let's scroll down. And what I want to look at, let's start off with our multi-time frame support and resistance. Let's see what XRP is doing this morning. We're sitting right on top of one of our 4-hour levels. It's not necessarily the most significant one, but we are coming down to a support level there on the daily chart. Dynamic reactor right there. Look at all the support down below us. Not that I think we're going to fall that far, but if, again, Bitcoin begins to fall and we see XRP begin to fall, there's a lot of support levels coming in down here. I'm actually very curious. Let me turn back on those order blocks and go down to a lower time frame, because you could very well see a good spot, a good entry point, especially with that lawsuit potentially coming to a close here very, very, very soon. Daily chart saying right here about 34 cents. Let's go to 4-hour and 1-hour, though. About this, a little lower, 27 cents on the 4-hour chart. Let's see what the hourly chart's telling us, though. Is there anything closer? Not really. It's saying the closest one is about 38 cents. So when it comes to XRP, again, there are some signs that the support is coming in. Of course, this is another one that's been trading very emotionally right now. If we get an announcement today or tomorrow or the next day that lawsuit is over, we're just going to see a massive spike up. But if your guys are expecting a little bit of a dip in the market right now, if you're thinking that prices have a little bit lower to go, some of those levels down there towards 34 cents, 38 cents, somewhere in that region could be interesting spots to be picking up some more XRP. I know we have about a minute until we go into our stock market open. But I want to throw it over to T Shroom because it's been a minute since we heard your voice, T Shroom, and I know people love hearing the sound of your voice. What are your thoughts right now about the crypto space in general? What are your views about the market? Are we just coming out to a bottom and we're about to rally again, or do you have concerns that this could be a sign that the rally is over?
It's a good question, Tim. I mean, with the chart that I've got pulled up, kind of what I'm thinking here is that it's always been in the cards for us to have a pullback. We've been making technical arguments that have been coming true of why Bitcoin is going to stay essentially above, 26 or 2690, right? And it hasn't really come back down. It gets bought around that 27.6 level every single time it comes down and tests that. But I mean, if you look at it, you just think about it from a physics standpoint, it wants to come back down and test this dynamic reactor. And obviously, the best case scenario is that it just trades sideways and waits for that dynamic reactor to come uh, catch up with it, somewhere around here in midsummer. But more than likely, I think we're gonna see Bitcoin test lower, and if for no other reason but because we're in a little bit of we're in a bull run, not a bull market, but in a bull
Mhm.
run. And what happens is that it's a miniature effect of what the bull market is. And folks want to, they see maybe they made a little bit of money in Bitcoin and they're like, well, let me go ahead and park some of this into some altcoins, which I think are going to do even better. Because ultimately, what a lot of people are investing in Bitcoin with is discretionary income, money that they can afford to lose, right? So this is going to be better put into altcoins, which they think can go really, really high. So I think you see a natural rotation in that, and that would bring Bitcoin price down and Bitcoin dominance down.
Well,
But
I have an interesting question before because I know we're
go
about
for
to
it.
transition here, but I think this is a good sign of things to come. I asked in chat this morning, and of course, we probably have about 114 votes, so this is awesome. But I said, is this the sell in May and walk away action? 59% said no,
Mhm.
41% said yes. So clearly, there's still this feeling right now in our audience of, hey, we're moving to the upside. But here's the real question, and I want to hear what you guys think in chat. Go ahead and put a 1 in chat if you're buying these levels or you have a level that's very, very close that you plan on buying. Because there is a big difference between saying, oh, I think the rally, I think some people stay optimistic and they're like, oh, no, the rally's not over yet. I'm staying in, but they have no plans on buying right now on this dip. They have no plan on buying when there's technically like a little bit of blood in the streets. And the real issue is going to be is as long as people are willing to buy these levels, as long as retail investors are saying this is a good spot to buy, you actually can make a point, an argument that that's telling the institutional investors, hey, we have not bled in the streets enough. We need to keep going to the downside. But even if people are optimistic, if no one else wants to buy and people are still kind of subconsciously thinking the price is going down, that's the levels that I think the institutions are buying in at to try to manipulate the space. So I'm interested if you guys are buying. Put a 2 if you're not buying. Put a 1 if you are buying. Seeing a couple of ones come in here. And so just so you guys know, that to me is a sign. I think I want to see it on a larger scale, but I think that there's definitely reasons to start getting skeptical about the rest of this rally. We told you guys before, we will be honest with you guys. When we get things wrong, we will tell you get it wrong. When we get things right, we'll tell you get it right. When we change our mind on things, we're not stuck in the mud. Like, even though I still believe there's a chance for a $50,000 Bitcoin, I'm honest with you guys. I'm seeing the window to that happening over the next couple of weeks get smaller and smaller and smaller because it should have been happening a lot sooner. It does look like there could be a good chance that the rally is at least coming closer to an end than it really should be, or than we really want it to be. But with that said, though, it's 9:33. T-Shroom, go ahead and get us into our stock market open, and then we'll jump into some of these juicy stories to continue to talk about the crypto markets.
Absolutely, guys. Well, the energy markets are taking off this morning. You see UNG natural gas here is up more than 2.8%, and then the UNG ETF is up 4.7% here in the first 3 minutes of the New York session. So oil and gas both moving to the upside after getting pretty wrecked last week. So Nasdaq and the Dow Jones are barely sold off, while the S&P is remaining green. Um, we will scroll down and see which names from the mega cap tech industry are kind of buoying the indexes here, and which are pulling down. But for right now, you're not really seeing a movement in one way or another. But you'd have to lean a little bit bearish this morning for the market open. according to the indexes. Red across the screen, really quite a bleed out here for crypto and crypto names, especially AGIX here down 6.5% essentially. Goodness gracious, Cake getting down below $2 per coin, down 4.9% this morning. That is pretty intense. Thank you, Piper, for helping me out. Let's see, Atom down. Atom was was remaining green this morning, but it is now ticked red. So, my theory probably not supported here that money's rotating out of Bitcoin and into alts. I would say that that's probably not supported at this point, at least on a 1 hour chart or a 1 hour kind of phenomenon reading here. So Ethereum actually remaining quite unsold. It's only down 0.4%. So that's going to be a real quick crypto snapshot there. Metals are mixed. Gold getting bought. Let's take a look at the gold chart here. So gold getting bought and staying high. It wicked quite a bit up to $2,082, $2,082 or 2,082. Yeah, I said it right the first time. And was wicked all the way back down though. This is on the weekly chart. So now, it's got some ground to make up, but where there's a wick, there's a candlestick. And on the weekly chart, we have not candled up to 2,081 yet for gold. Silver, conversely, is selling off this morning to the tune of 0.2%. So not too much, but it is kind of in a similar position where it just had a big wick last week and is looking to try to maybe candlestick that wick if it can. It's been up there pretty recently. Candlesticked into $26.16 back in March 14th. So it's got it in it. And then you got mixed mega cap tech stocks here on the open, with Microsoft down 0.5, 0.6. Google and Tesla are green, with Tesla leading up 0.7% this morning, but really not a huge move in any direction or any of these names. And your bond yields are making a big comeback this morning, with the 2-year trying to get parity with the 10-year here, trying to get back below these key benchmarks here, the 5 and the 10-year. It's got a ways to go. But it is moving in the wrong direction this morning. But recently, it has been moving in the right direction, or at least the 20 and the 30-year have been doing their part to get back above, to ultimately uninvert the yield curve, is kind of what we're rallying around here with the bonds, the bond analysis. But an inverted yield curve has been in the case for the bond market for, I don't know how long, Piper, maybe but for almost more than a year now. Which is usually a sign of an inflation, of a recession.
Yeah, it's been just about 1 year now. Exactly. So
yeah. So while economists refuse to go ahead and declare that we've been in a recession over the last year and a half, the inversion of the bond curve, the bond yield curve, has kind of told the truth, so to speak. So the Dixie coming down a little bit this morning. Cannabis red across the board. Had a good week last week, closing up higher. Cannabis did, especially Thursday and Friday. And then Snowflake getting bought this morning, up 4%. There's a little bit of sun shining through the clouds is Snowflake. If you're exposed to that name, you're doing well. And then the rest are going to be pretty mixed. Now, here's an opportunity, guys. Here's a gem, especially if you're more a conservative investor. I'm going to get off the weekly chart. It's going to go to the daily, because Coinbase is getting sold this morning. I'm back on the daily. It got rejected off the dynamic reactor here. Look at this. It had a chance to turn green, the dynamic reactor. Didn't. Went ahead and stayed red. And so Coinbase, this is a kind of a spot, kind of a range that I'm a little bit bullish and wanting to go ahead and reaccumulate. I had made a nice little trade on Coinbase earlier in the year. And so now I'm kind of thinking it's a go ahead time to go ahead and reaccumulate Coinbase here. Not saying to FOMO in. I'm not saying to do anything with your own money. I'm just saying kind of this. I wanted to buy Coinbase back here on the 4th, and I didn't, and I bit my tongue, and I hated it because it came up and I think it did like 10% in one day. Way more than that, 20%. So I really hated that, and I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I'm going to get me some Coinbase, probably when it gets back down below 52.50. So may even accumulate today, as it's down almost 5%. Big banks green across the board, making a comeback from last week's really bearish headlines with the regional banks and then your oil producers are up on the energy movement to the upside. So that's going to conclude our market open here, guys. You're seeing a lot of bleeding in crypto. We saw it last week, and crypto made a comeback. So we're hoping to see something similar. But taking a look at the SPY charts here, you can see this is quite a zoomed out screen. Let me get a little bit more in. Is that we've just the stock market has just been sideways, just like Bitcoin, right? This is the S&P. Stock market's just been moving sideways, kind of testing this upper range of the premium on the daily chart, and then coming back and not even getting down to the equilibrium, not even getting anywhere near. Just coming off this blue line, just finding support there again and again. And there's no real reason to think that this would change unless something really, really big happens in the news. I think this is just kind of a holding pattern, and the market is trying to figure out, does it care about the Fed anymore? And if not, then what's the next big force? Is it the bonds, the bond curve that's inverted? Is that what's to pay attention to, or is it this looming recession? And what does that even mean anymore? Because the definition of recession has been so diluted. But all right, so let's go ahead and move into our announcements. I have a big one, so but I want to throw it to Piper or Tim. Do you guys have any announcements for our audience today?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I think the next week's going to be an interesting show for sure because I think it was announced last week. Piper announced it for me, so thank you to him. I'm going to be actually, after not thinking I was going to be in Bitcoin Miami. I wasn't supposed to be at the Bitcoin conference. I am going to be down there. So I'll be down there the whole week for the show. I believe Piper, he'll go more into this, but I think he's going to be out next week. So it's going to be T. Sherman, Tim. So should be fun. But of course, again, that conference coming up. If any of you guys are going to be down there, we're going to be coordinating over in our Discord. Make sure you go join that Discord, a meetup down in Miami. So that's what I got for you guys for announcements. What about you, Piper?
I got. I'm on. I'm going to be on this morning at 11. I believe it's 9 my time. So yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on Crypto Archie this morning. And then this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on with Crusader over there on Debate Crypto, doing some TA over there. So I've got 2 more shows to do today. And then, yes, next week I will be out. I'm going to San Antonio, but I will be able to squeeze in a couple of shows, I believe. But on some mornings, if we've got some early morning activities going on, then obviously I will not be there. I'll be there in spirit and maybe in chat, but I will not be running the show from behind the scenes here like I do. So
cool.
All right, guys. Well, we've got a big announcement. Thank you, Tim and Piper, for letting us know what is up. But if you go to my screen, Piper, we've got a big announcement. And big shout out to Crux of Crypto, who has made this possible. We absolutely would not have been able to do this without him. But the Investing Bros newsletter is live on Substack. So some of you probably have a Substack account where you go and you can read newsletters from analysts and economists and whoever else that is writing things. Doesn't have to be finance. Substack has everything: science, education, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. If you don't have a Substack account, you are missing out on kind of the future of journalism, to be honest with you. The founder of Substack has been on Joe Rogan and other podcasts, kind of talking about how they've really conquered names like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and things like that. Anyway, now Investing Bros is joining Substack, so we're on there. All you've got to do is go on Substack and search us up, and then what you do with this type of a format is you just put your email in there, and then you will receive the newsletter. You can also go and view it on Substack.com as well. But all you've got to do is go to this domain, investingbros.substack.com. And today I've got a little sneak peek for you guys. This is our newsletter that's going to go live here after the stream at about noon Eastern Standard Time. And this is a new NFT that Crux of Crypto has made. I believe it's on the Cardano blockchain. So you'll be able to folks who are engaging with the newsletter, meaning subscribing to it, are going to be able to get a chance to get this NFT, and it's going to be free. Most of the NFT and crypto stuff, we have peanut butter jelly coin, all that kind of stuff is going to be free for our audience. So don't think that you're going to have to pay a bunch of money for an NFT. Don't be afraid of that. If you do choose to get the NFT, it's going to be free. All right, and so you can see here we've got a welcome section, we've got our sponsors, and then we get a weekly recap. So that kind of goes into what happened last week. It's a snapshot so that you can see what was going on. I'm hearing some snickering and some giggling.
That was my first time. That was my first time ever seeing. I saw something. I saw him put it in chat, but like the pixelated Tim.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
do we
it's
have
a
a lot
lot
of
of fun.
those? Do we have a lot of pixelated Tims, or we only have like one of them?
What do you mean? Like
That
variations of that NFT?
yeah, yeah, we need to get multiple. We need to get multiple pixelations.
Yes, we will be developing our NFT strategy, and there will more than likely
Oh,
be
that's pretty cool.
variations of this NFT going forward. But this is the one I believe that you will get if you subscribe, and this is the one that you'll be able to get access to. And I'm sure Crux of Crypto is in the chat right now, setting everybody right on exactly the details around the NFT. But okay, the
Yeah.
most important part of the newsletter is the T Shroom take. Everybody has been ranting and raving about it. Jordan
Yes.
Peterson and Ben Shapiro and Jim
Yes.
Cramer have all been racking their brains to try to figure out how T Shroom's take is so astute and on point and in trend with the heartbeat of global finance. So it is really, really fun to be right there, and you're going to love the newsletter, guys. Definitely go check it out. Again, just go to Substack and then put your email in here, and then you'll be on track to receive the newsletter every week as they drop after the show on Monday. Cool. So you can leave my screen, and we can go ahead and get into the news. We can just go to yes, because I've got to share my other screen for reasons that only Google Chrome knows about. That's okay though, because we're going to get there here in just a second. How about that? Moving at the speed of sound is T-Shroom over here. All right, we're ready for our stories here. Binance resumes Bitcoin withdrawals after halting transactions twice in 12 hours. So this was a pretty startling discovery here. This is why we have the thumbnail Bitcoin troubles, because there is some actual concern here, and we're gonna try to wade into the details here. So let's get into them. Binance resumed withdrawals on Bitcoin after Monday noon in Hong Kong, after temporarily halting the service twice within 12 hours due to what the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange said was a large volume of pending transactions. Where those transactions are coming from, we'll get to in just a second. But if you've been in crypto long enough, you've heard about the Lightning Network, and here is exactly what you would expect the headline to be: Binance to enable Bitcoin Lightning Network withdrawals. And then you can see here some of the details. Now at press time, the organization announced plans to introduce withdrawals via the Bitcoin Lightning Network. So, Tim, I want to throw it to you. Why the heck was Lightning not already integrated into Binance? Why is Binance and other exchanges been dragging their feet on this? And kind of give us some details. Why were these transactions so high? Why is the transactions reaching a point where Binance had to halt twice?
Yeah, I don't know why T-Shroom they weren't already on there, but the good news is they are going to go ahead and implement it on there. The reason the congestion was so heavy, it was because of this massive uptick in BRC20 tokens, with this massive uptick in NFTs and ordinals being put on Bitcoin. There's a reason why the Bitcoin maximalists do not like what is happening here recently. This is, to be fair, I'm not saying they're right in general, but they were right on this issue. If you actually listen to a lot of Bitcoin maximalists voice their frustrations when ordinals started becoming a big thing here, I don't even know exactly the timeline, but it definitely last couple of weeks, if not last couple of months, ordinals became more of a thing. They predicted, they said, this is not what Bitcoin was for. Bitcoin is here for transactions. This is going to cloud the space. This is going to make it hard. This is going to make the gas fees go up. And sure enough, they were 100% correct. The good news is, though, and this is what the title of today's video is all about. Bitcoin is in trouble. Guys, this is a problem. A couple of days ago, we saw Bitcoin be at the highest amount of exchange. Like the amount of exchanging happening was the highest we have seen. It's all-time high. Well, guess what the previous all-time high was? The previous all-time high was the all-time high of price. Every single time you see this amount of exchanges happening on Bitcoin, that's usually actually a top indicator. The good news is that it's also usually paired with miners going to low levels of hash rate. We're also sitting at all-time high for hash rates. So at least we have the two conflicting with each other. One's a sign of a bottom, one's a sign of a top, but we are seeing the Bitcoin price kind of be stifled. I saw earlier in chat, somebody mentioned, they said, it looks like this kind of stuff is good for miners, but bad for the price. And I understand what they're trying to get at. Like, ultimately what's happening is if it was not for Bitcoin ordinals, I want to start off by kind of saying this. If it was not for Bitcoin ordinals, if it was not for BRC20, I think, guys, the price of Bitcoin right now would be well over 30K. I do think that this congestion has slowed down the price. The question, though, is long-term what happens, because now that we have something, or not now, we've had it all along, but now that we're seeing more adoption and use case for Lightning Network, as we see the exchange, the amount of Bitcoin being exchanged go up, along with the hash rate continue to climb, we actually see more adoption possible for Bitcoin. However, I think people do need to understand this could be something. I want to see how Lightning kind of operates and how well Lightning solves the problem. But there's been this little debate going on in the community. Do we think Bitcoin is going to be a currency long term? Do we think people are actually going to be going down to their local grocery store? People are actually going to be buying and spending their taxes using Bitcoin? I don't know, especially with this new upgrade and the fact that people are using BRC20 and people are doing ordinals. I think that Bitcoin, just the way it works and the fact that it is still proof of work, it might be too much for the exchange to handle. It might be too much for the network to handle massive amounts of transactions every single day. I think that what we could be seeing happen is the solidification of, guys, do not think that Bitcoin is going to be your end-all be-all currency. It's going to be the end-all be-all store of value. And now, whether or not we use Ethereum or Cardano or some other existing altcoin, or whether a different coin is made with the backing of Bitcoin's value, I do think the long-term best currency for the world is going to be something other than Bitcoin, but the best store of value will still be Bitcoin itself. That's what I think we're seeing develop right now, but I am interested to see, can Lightning Network do for Bitcoin things like what Matic did for Ethereum? Is that what we're looking at? Can we see that type of adoption skyrocket and maybe still keep Bitcoin in the running for being a world currency that is used everywhere? But for right now, the way we're seeing it develop, I'm kind of starting to get into the camp of saying, hey, Bitcoin is not the currency that I'm going to be using here in the next 20 years. It's going to be my largest store of value, but it's going to become like gold, and we're going to have to find something else to actually be transacting every single day.
Yep. What are your thoughts, Piper, on these headlines? Are you troubled that that Bitcoin's getting a little bit of well, I mean, it basically shut down Binance's withdrawals. Like Binance had to flash crash their withdrawals for a second. So is that something that you're concerned about?
I think it raises awareness a little bit on the network issues. One big thing they can do is, instead of storing these NFTs on directly on the network, they can store the hash, and that will free up a lot of space in the blockchain. A lot of people are not doing it right. They're not doing it the most effective way of storing the BRC20 JPEGs, if you will. But I mean, let's be honest here. At the end of the day, the time is going to come where Bitcoin miners are not making much money beyond their fees, because it's going to become harder and harder and slower, and they're going to get micro amounts of Bitcoin. It's really going to be the fees that keep them enticed to do the network. So the higher the fees that they get over time, the more decentralized it's going to stay, because you're not going to get just a few people that stay in it. So I think ultimately the fees are going to end up going up over time. Yesterday was kind of insight into how quickly it can happen. I don't think it's going to stay that high, but it needs to happen eventually, because if not, we're going to have a security issue with Bitcoin. So
the last thing I want to say, T-Shun, before we move on the topic, I think Piper actually brings up a very, very good point, something we've discussed before. Remember, we actually had that same question. How will Bitcoin continue once the incentives for miners goes away? We discussed the possibility that what ends up happening is it becomes a power issue, and it's not about making money off of mining. It's about making sure that certain governments don't have too much control, right? But this is just one more amazing step with decentralization, because governments will already be incentivized to make sure not one country, not one government has too much power. But now we're even still keeping it decentralized amongst people. This would allow the everyday individual to continue to say, hey, I want to mine Bitcoin to help these transactions happen. I think it could be what stops Bitcoin from becoming the one world currency. Some people think it could be, but it keeps it decentralized and keeps the value very, very high. And I still think this is a good long-term move for Bitcoin. It just means that if you were planning on transacting in Bitcoin, you might want to start readjusting your thought process about the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we got a comment from someone saying that they were not able to find Investing Bros on Substack. You can't put a space, so it's got to be Investing no space Bros. But not to worry, we're going to have some links down in the description later on. But right now, we were pretty much just announcing that it's going to be on there, so we'll have that much more seamless for you guys. But if you wanted to search it on Substack, you got to do no space.
Crux was also saying it's not live yet. It'll go live in the next couple of hours.
Correct.
So, yep.
All right. Moving along into our next section here, Voyager Digital announced liquidation and shutdown following failed FTX and Binance.us deals. So this mostly applies to Voyager holders. So I'm going to move through this quickly. In a Friday filing, lawyers of the company revealed that Voyager's customers will now recover 36%. That's the number, guys. Number to expect 36% of their crypto holdings, lower than the 72 to 73% estimated recovery rate that they would have received if the Binance.us acquisition plans had gone through. However, according to the filing, the recovery rate could increase if defunct crypto trading firm Alameda Research is unsuccessful in attempting to claw back $446 million from Voyager's estate. So those are kind of the evolving details there over at Voyager. So the important part is that this number has gone down to 36. Not great, but you're going to get 36 pennies back on your 100 penny dollar potentially on what you put into that investment. So that is, it's welcome news in the sense that you're closer to getting your money back, but that money's going to be less for Voyager customers. All right, moving along, there's been a win for crypto on China's Supreme Court as it approves its use for settling debts in the country. So the country's Supreme Court, China, released guidelines regarding cryptocurrency related to disputes, stating that settling a debt using a small amount of digital assets would be considered legal if both parties agree. So this is not really going to affect the price of Bitcoin, the price of any altcoins very much, but what it does do is signal the continued thawing of China's just blanket ban on crypto in general. This thawing trend has started in Hong Kong as a lot of institutional investors and soon retail investors have been kind of given the tentative green light to accumulate digital assets again. And so this is just continuing that China is not going in the opposite direction of banning it more, right? They're kind of banning it less. They're kind of moving down in their regulational aggressiveness towards crypto. So I do want to take a second. Maybe Piper, you've been following the Chinese narrative pretty closely here. Maybe we'll hear from Tim, but Piper, I feel like you have a lot to say, especially recently in the TA talks that we've been having. So what does this headline mean to you?
So, first off, for people that don't know, the ban for retail purchases of Bitcoin and Ethereum in China on June 1st is supposed to be lifted for the exchange that's in Hong Kong. That's a big deal because they've got trillions of dollars in savings in China right now. Their COVID lockdown was severe, very severe. So I think it's interesting now that we're also going to see that not only can they buy Bitcoin and Ethereum in Hong Kong, now they can use their crypto that they buy to settle some debts and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. I think we're going to see, as Winklevoss, one of the Winklevoss twins said a while back, I think we're going to see the East lead the way into the next bull run. So.
No. All right. Yep. Well,
the only thing I'll say, T-shirt. The only thing I'll say is keep in mind, everybody, especially as these countries, large countries, Russia and Asia, start to come back into crypto. Don't be surprised if even part of what we're seeing right now with this dip is actually just allowing some of their institutions to buy in at lower prices as well. So it's just one of the things. Keep in mind what Piper's saying right there is absolutely true. This could be massive, even in a misdirection move, that Asia actually takes us into the lead on crypto, and it doesn't rely upon the US dollar anymore.
Now I've been called out for my geographical foibles in the past, and I believe that Tim has violated such.
I'm a violator.
That you said such countries as Russia and Asia. So I will just note that, and I'll leave
my
that.
brain. I'm telling you right now, I can't freaking hear, guys. I can't hear myself talk.
It's a likely story, Tim.
My brain said China, but my mouth might have said Asia, and I would have no idea because I can't hear myself. So,
Wow.
uh,
Wow.
that's good
All right.
stuff.
Well, we'll
But
move along.
I'll take the L. Countries like
we've
Asia and Africa.
we've got limited time. So jumping back over to my screen here, the SUI token, which we released a video about yesterday in depth. If you haven't, go check that out on our channel. The SUI token, SUI, took a big dump yesterday, man. Actually, this morning. No, it was yesterday, last night. So is down almost 11%. I think it was down pretty low. Yeah, down to about, well, $1.13. So, and that's about where it is now, down 12.32 cents on CoinMarketCap. And that is due to some, I won't get into the details, but some criticism of the tokenomics. So folks are not happy with the tokenomics and what that could mean for the future price of SUI. So they are unlikely to buy now. My guess is that that situation is going to change and that SUI will get bought to the upside, but it's going to take some time. And then you also have to remember its positioning within the macro crypto environment. Moving along, the regional banks are said to be rebounding for a second day as PacWest cuts dividends and says that their business is fundamentally sound. So the media is trying to craft a narrative where these regional banks are actually going to come back. But let's take a look and see if that is actually happening. Anybody know what the PacWest ticker is? I probably should have thought about. There it is, PacWest Bancorp. So yes, it has bounced back a little bit here, but is actually getting sold off this morning to the tune of 18%. So that's pretty radical there. Don't know how effective this media is going to be. This media campaign pro regional banks is going to be. Well, it's not just the regional banks that are seeing a little bit of weakness, a little bit of head scratching, but Vitalik Buterin and ETH Foundation sell 30 million in Ethereum as ETH about to break $2,000 per coin. This turned out for me to be kind of a nothing to see here story, because it seems that Buterin just sells Ethereum from time to time in more or less the same amounts as reported by you today. Earlier in the middle of February, he sold 110 ETH for roughly $325,000 in the USD stablecoin. Curiously, that chunk of ETH was also sold on Kraken. Back then, ETH was trading at $1,545 per coin. On March 13th, he moved another 200 ETH to Kraken, selling it at a price of $1,656 per coin. So really, it's something that kind of has been happening for a little bit. And it's not great from a confidence standpoint. And I'm sure Tim and Piper have something to say about this as we kind of wrap up the show. But my take on it is, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing for tokenomics because ETH is getting into the hands of more people. It's being decentralized holders. So Tim, first to you, and then Piper, maybe wrap us out.
Well,
there's not really any other
I'm actually,
news.
Got to kind of interrupt there. We actually got to go ahead and close the show. We'll talk more about this tomorrow because this is not going anywhere. There's a lot to actually probably unpack with that. Maybe we should even make a video itself all about this. Maybe get Piper's take because he's been reading really well into this. With that said, though, guys, I'm sorry to cut this one off. We do got to go ahead and wrap up the show for today. But thank you to everybody who has been watching. We are the Investing Bros, the most generous YouTube channel out there. Make sure you're a part of this amazing community, not just here clicking likes and commenting for the free price of free, but make sure you go check our free Discord down below and also for our Patreon. This one's not for the free price of free, but we got a lot of big updates coming to our Patreon as well. Things are about to get very interesting for the Investing Bros. We're about to just take off and start doing so many things, both here on YouTube, over there in Discord, and a lot more. So make sure you guys stick around. With that said, though, we love each and every single last one of you guys. We will see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. You guys have a great day.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms News got the word, doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.